if I should say I was going to go ahead with the teaching, I would have been distracted. Yes. So thank you for your understanding to reschedule the class to today at 4. Yes. So on that note, I guess we can begin. Yes. Last week we started looking at the employment process. Yes. And we got to understand that the process involves 3 stages. The recruitment stage, we have the employee selection, and then placement. And last week we dwelt much on the recruitment. So this week we are going to look at employee selection. That is basically our focus for today, okay? And I believe next weekend is revision, I guess. Are we meeting next weekend?
Yes,
No,
madam.
please.
No,
Next weekend
madam.
is revision.
No, ma'am.
Yeah,
But we
next
can
week.
meet you
Next
if
week,
you want to.
next weekend is revision, so that you can prepare towards your quiz. Yes, per the academic calendar, we're supposed to go through unit 1 to unit 3, so that you can prepare for your quiz, and then we come back. Joseph, you said you can't hear anything. Is it only Joseph that is facing that problem?
Yes, madam.
Oh, okay. Then Joseph, please check your end, your connection, because the rest can hear me clearly. All right, thank you. So I guess this is our last meeting before the quiz. Okay. So we are going to dwell on employee selection for today. All right. So that is the second process in employment. That is what it is about, the employee selection. All right. So let's look at the meaning and purpose of employee selection. Though I have my slide here, I would want us to go into our book, our module, to read exactly what is there. Okay. All right. So please, can someone do us the honors? Let's move straight to page
51.
page 61. Yes, thank you. Page 61. And someone can read for us.
Yeah,
Yes, David.
okay. I think meaning and purpose of employee selection. After
Okay.
that, you come to the objectives. By the end of this session, you should be able to the, define the concept selection of employees. Give at least 2 reasons why carefully selection is important. Explain why application letter is described as unstructured and application form is described as structured selection device. Discuss importance of completed application forms. Now read on. Meaning of employee selection. Employee selection as a concept is simply defined as the process by which employer identifies suitable job seekers for appointment. It is the process by which capable job applicants are separated from those who are incapable from a pool of recruits. Come to why careful selection is important. Selecting the right employee is important for at least 3 main reasons. First, for employers, their own performance depends largely on the performance of employees. Employees with the right skills and attributes will do a better job for the company. Employees without these skills or who are obstructionists should not perform effectively, and the employer's performance and the firm's work will suffer. The time to screen out such undesirable applicants is during selection. Effective selection is also important because it is costly to recruit and hire employees. Hiring and training even a clerk can be very expensive in terms of fees and supervisory time. The total cost of hiring a manager could easily be 10 times as high as that of a clerk when search fees. Interviewing time, reference checking, travel and moving expenses are tailed. Careful selection is also important because of the legal implication of incompetent hiring resulting in unfair discrimination against protected groups, as already discussed in Unit 2. Furthermore, the courts are increasingly finding employers liable for negligent hiring. Negligent hiring occurs when employees with criminal records or other problems find their way into organizations as employees. For example, an employee may take advantage of access to a customer's home or other similar opportunity to commit crimes. Hiring workers with such background without proper safeguard is called negligent hiring.
All right,
Several
David, can you
cases,
pause for me? Can you pause
okay,
for me?
madam.
All right.
Okay, madam.
So from the little that David has read, why why careful selection is important, I think 3 reasons have been raised. And can we all mention them? Can we come up with the 3 reasons? Hello.
Yes, madam.
Yes, Francis. Moses hand was up. So Moses, please, you can start. Moses, all right.
Yes,
Yes, your hand
madam.
was up.
Madam, please, I didn't hear the question well, but so I wanted to find out the question.
Okay. So I wanted us to come up with the 3 reasons why careful selection is important from what the passage that David just read. Yes. All right, Abdul. Majid.
Okay, madam, please. Employers' own performance depends largely on the performance of their employees.
Exactly. That's as simple as that. As simple as that. That is one reason why careful selection is important. Employers, if we say employers, we are talking about the firm's performance. The firm's performance depends largely on the performance of employees. So that's why careful selection is crucial. All right, can someone else give us one more? Caroline.
Okay, madam. Another point is it's costly to recruit new employees. So if it's not done effectively, if the right person or the right employee is not employed, then it means they have to conduct the exercise again, which is more expensive. So they want to be careful with it and go through the right process and the right person being selected.
Exactly, exactly. Because of the cost implication for recruiting. Yes. All right. And the last one, Moses. Yes.
Madam, so the last one is the implication, what do you call it, the legal implication of incompetent recruits or unfair discrimination against protected groups.
Exactly. Exactly. And last week we saw what the Ghana Labor Act says about discrimination, unfair discrimination. We read all that, and we were even surprised about some of the things that were in the Ghana Labor Act. Yes. So these are the main 3 points that you should have in mind, just in case you are asked during your exams. Okay. All right. Can we go on with the reading, David? You were at several cases illustrate this problem. Talking about negligent hiring. David, are you with us? If we've lost him, can
Yes,
someone?
madam.
All right,
Yes,
David,
madam.
let's go on.
I will mute myself while talking. Okay, several
Okay,
cases
let's go on.
illustrate this problem. In one, Ponticus GKMS investment, Ponticus GKM investment, an apartment manager with
So
a
let me
passkey.
clarify something. What David is reading are cases, okay? And one is the Ponticus versus KMS investments. When we're talking about negligent hiring, the module gave us two illustration of such a problem, and it became a court issue. So it's just throwing light on some of the issues. Yes, let's go on. Ponticus versus KMS investments.
Yes, investment. An apartment manager with a passkey entered a woman's apartment and assaulted her. Negligence by the owner and by the operator of the apartment complex in not properly checking the manager's background before hiring him was found to be the cause of the woman's personal injury. In another case, Henley versus Prince George County, an employee who turned out to have criminal background murdered a young boy. Management, aware of the man's prior murder conviction, was held liable.
Exactly. So careful selection. Why it is key. We don't just select because you have a pool to select from. But if you don't do the needful, you can be dragged to court as an employer. Yes, because you failed to do the background check of the person you intend to employ. So these are two key cases that the module is informing us about. One is about an operator of an apartment. Yes, and they failed to do a thorough background check of the manager. All right. Yes, and it ended up in something else. And then the other one too is talking about failure to also check the criminal background of a person that they employed. Okay, and the person ended up murdering a young boy. So let's be careful. Those of us who plan on owning our own businesses, anytime you want to recruit or select, that is the employ someone, that's the right word, because employment has three processes: recruitment, selection, and then placement. So you need to do the due diligence when it comes to the selection of your employees. All right, let's go on with the reading. Okay, hold on. Before you continue, hold on. Moses's hand is up.
Yes, madam, I have a question.
All right.
With the due diligence, are you supposed to employ the person before you continue with the due diligence? In case you find out anything, you just dismiss the person, or you have to do it before you employ the person fully?
Okay, so last week, as I began today's session, I alerted you that last week we looked at employment process. So before we say that you have been employed, it needs to go through three processes. The first process is the recruitment, and last week we looked at that. And this week we are looking at selection. Okay, so in your selection from the pool, you need to check the background of the people, the ones you are hoping to select from the lots, okay, before you place them at where they ought to be. So employment is not complete if it doesn't go through these 3 stages. So the due diligence when it comes to employment, that's the selection. When you get to the selection process, that's where you need the due diligence. You need to do the background checks of every applicant. I hope I've answered you.
Yes, madam. But when it comes to some of the security services, madam,
Yes.
you can hide some things, and you can be on training ground, and like they will still be doing your background check. You can even pass out and be the permanent staff, and they will still be doing your background check. When they find out anything, they'll just dismiss you straight up.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm not in the security field, but I know that in other organizations, for instance, I'll use UCC as a case study. When you are employed, you're on probation for either 1 year or maximum 2 years. During that probation, they are checking if you are the right fit. So anything at all, they can just tell you that no, we don't need you. All right. So I guess that is exactly what is happening in the security section as well. Though you've been employed, they are still doing the background checks. I don't know if there's a probation period for them as well. But from UCC, though you have gained employment, yes, you are under probation. Yes, Abdullah,
Madam.
sorry, your hand is up.
Please, Abdullah is my surname. My name is Damatu.
Damatu, okay.
Yes, please. Madam, please, concerning the background checks,
Yes, please.
assuming you advertise for a job in an organization and people from different regions apply, how will you be able to do that background checks to know whether the person is not having any criminal, but it's not coming from any criminal background? How is that done?
Okay.
Please.
All right. I guess at the end of today's session, we'll get to know all that. Okay. So if you can just put a pin in this, your question, I'm very sure that by the close of today, you would get an answer to your question.
Thank you, madam.
All right. Okay. Can we move on, please? Can I have someone else take over? David, thank you. Let someone else read.
Okay, madam.
Okay, madam.
Moses, yes.
Madam, it's Francis.
Okay, madam. So I'm ready.
Okay.
Application letters as a selection device.
Okay. So
Once
please, Damatu, please pay attention. All right, let's go.
Once you have a pool of applicants, the selection process can begin. And for most employers, application letters and application forms are the first step in the process, though some firms first require a brief pre-screening interview.
Mm-hmm.
The letter of application. Obtaining unstructured information from a candidate can play useful, though limited parts in your selection procedure. It can identify the candidate's ability to express himself clearly and coherently in writing. It can tell you how good his spelling and grammar are. If they are bad in a job application, the chances are that they are worse when the applicant is not making special efforts. It can give you a glimpse of his character, his choice of words, or possibly his handwriting. If you need this kind of information in order to assess if you need this kind of information in order to assess his suitability for the job, it will be helpful.
All right, kindly pause for me. Pause for me. All right. So the letter of application that we have been writing, some of us take it for granted. All right. Elsewhere in other countries, it is only Ghana that you can do things and then you go scot-free. Elsewhere, just your application letter tells a lot about you. Your writing, even if it's not handwriting, even if it's not handwritten, it is typed. Your choice of words and all that. Elsewhere in other countries, it tells a lot about who you are. So please, let's pay attention to the application letters that we've been sending around. Those of us who are seeking for a job, pay critical attention to the application. Don't just write anything because they say you should add an application letter or a cover letter. So you just put some words together. No, 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 no. Please, let's change our mind. Let's renew our mind from today onwards. Today is Sunday. So let me use the word renew. Let's renew our minds when it comes to writing of application letters for employment. It tells a lot about you. It tells a lot about you. All right, let's move on.
If, on the other hand, the applicant will not be required to write letters or express himself via the written word once employed, such data will largely be irrelevant to your selection decision. In addition, being unstructured, the information contained in a letter of application is inevitably that which the candidate considers relevant to the job and favorable to himself. His assessment, particularly in relation to the job's relevance, may differ from yours as the employer, though a well-worded advertisement can help to guide his thoughts. You must therefore choose between rejecting a potentially worthwhile candidate because he has committed to give you some information.
Please, if you are not on the floor, kindly mute yourself. I think Majid, please mute yourself. Thank you.
You must therefore choose between rejecting potentially worthwhile candidate because he has omitted to give you some information which you require, and risking wasting your time through pursuing his application further.
All right. So please, just as I said, the application letters, okay, let's not just put words together because they say we should add a cover letter or write an application letter. Look at the advertisement. What and what exactly do they need? So sometimes they can select just anybody because of the application letter. You are not there to explain yourself. So if your application letter doesn't speak for you, then I don't know what would, because you are not there. Let's pay attention to application letters. Please, once again, let's pay attention to application letters henceforth. All right, let's go to the application form.
The application form. The application form is a good way to quickly collect structured, verifiable, and therefore fairly accurate historical data from the candidates. It usually includes information about such areas as education, prior work history, and hobbies. A completed form provides 4 types of information. First, you can make judgment on substantive matters such as does the applicant have the education and experience to do the job? Second, you can draw conclusions about the applicant's previous progress and growth, a trait that is especially important for managing candidates. And the third, you can also draw tentative conclusions regarding the applicant's stability based on previous work record. Here you have to be careful not to assume that an unusual number of job changes necessarily reflect on the applicant's ability. For example, the person's last 2 employers may have had to lay off large numbers of employees. Fourth, you may be able to use the data in the application to predict which candidate will succeed on the job and which will not. This aspect will deal with later. In
Yeah,
practice,
please hold on. Please hold on. So your application forms, apart from the application letters that we write, we are supposed to sometimes, when we are seeking job, we are required to fill an application form. And when you are filling the application forms, please be mindful of the things that you put in there. It can go against you or for you. For example, I think the last statements, what the paragraph that the third thing that Moses read. Someone, when you pick someone's application form, you can see that maybe in the next for the past 10 years, the person has changed jobs like his clothes. And just say you are good for the job. It speaks a lot about you, meaning you are not loyal. You are not loyal. So please, when we are putting, they don't think that the more job places you have worked at, that will give you the upper hand. It connotes something about you. That if we should employ this person, the person will leave us. So let's be mindful. The application form, when we are filling it, please be very careful. All right, let's move on, please.
in practice, one organization may use different application forms for technical and managerial personnel. For example, the form may require detailed answers to questions concerning the applicant's education and so on. The form for hourly factory workers might focus on the tools and equipment the applicant has used and can use.
Right, let's move on to the uses of completed application forms.
As few uses of completed application forms are listed below. 1, well-designed forms will aid the selection of candidates for the next stage in the selection process. They enable you to compare similar information and to relate the facts. The biodata of the applicant as provided on the form can become the basis of his permanent personal record.
Encapsulating
all the details of his life before joining the organization.
Exactly.
B,
Please pause there. Please pause there. The application forms. I've been in the Directorate of Human Resource, and some of the common issues we come across is that someone's date of birth that he or she filled during the application form, you'll be there and the person will come and say, oh, please, that's not, it was wrong. It was wrong. So please, can you change it? You filled the forms. No one filled it for you. Okay. So whatever you put in there, it becomes a permanent personal record in the organization. Let's take note of that. You can't go back and go and say that the information I provided on the application form is wrong. So please, this is the correct one. Then why did you fill it? Who filled it for you? You filled it yourself. So we get issues. Ernestina, please, I'll get to you. Okay. We've had issues at the Directors of Human Resource, UCC. The personal information, that is the application forms that people filled, it tells us that the person is supposed to go on pension this year. But you'll be there, and then when you write to the person that is prepared for pension, they will come with what do you call it? ID cards telling you that, oh, that date we have is wrong. This is the correct one. And it poses a lot of problem for HR directors. So please, let's take note of that. The information you provide is your permanent, what do you call it? record in that organization. Yes, Ernestina.
Yes, madam.
Ernestina,
Please, I want to ask please
please,
the
let's go.
biodata. Hello, madam.
We are listening,
I
please.
want the meaning of the biodata. The biodata.
The data. Yes, please
of the
come clearer. What has it done?
I still want to know the meaning of the biodata of the applicants.
Please, your line is breaking, so I'm not
And
hearing. I don't
she
know if
said she
someone.
want to know. She said she want to know the meaning of
Madam, you
biodata.
want the meaning to biodata.
The biodata of the applicant.
What is the meaning of biodata? Is that it? Is that a question?
Yes, please.
Madam.
So please, to the class, what is biodata?
Madam, so biodata
Hello.
simply means.
Yes.
Yes, madam.
Yes. Who is on the floor, please? Is it Moses?
Yes, madam.
Please speak.
Madam, so Madam NST, so it's just a document that gives basic information about the applicants.
Okay. Francis, I thought Francis also wanted to add something.
Yes, madam.
Francis.
So the biodata can also refer to maybe, let's say, your Ghana card. It has a brief of yourself, a picture of you, and then details of yourself, name,
Yes.
surname, your date of birth. That makes it a biodata.
Okay. Yes, Gideon.
All right, good evening, madam.
Good evening.
Okay, so I also want to add up. It's just details of the personal life, as in the educational background and biographical details of the person. That's all.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. You're welcome. So just as they've all shared, it's details of a person's life, education and career, and etc. It's information about you. That is biodata. All right. Celestine, I hope we are all clear.
Yes, madam. Thank you.
You're most welcome. All right, let's continue with our reading. Point B.
Hello, madam. Please, I have a question.
Okay, Gideon. Oh,
No, there's
is it
Emmanuel.
Gideon? Emmanuel. All right, please, let's go
Yes,
on.
please.
Ask
So I
your
want to
question.
ask, you mentioned that the change of job on some person's CV indicates their loyalty to a company. So I want to ask, what is the recommended years one can change their job? Or what would be your recommendation to someone who want to change their job? How long should someone work in an organization to be able to change their job?
Well, for me, I can't give any specification, okay? But the little I can say is that I threw that out there because some people think that when it comes to job experience, putting a whole number of different places that you have worked with at, okay, gives you an upper hand. But sometimes bear in mind, you could have worked at about, let's say, 10 organizations, but then pertaining to the specific job that you are applying to, some of the places you don't need to disclose it because it doesn't have any relevance to the job you're applying to. I don't know if you get it. So you should decide. Look at the specific job you are applying to and all the places that you have worked at. Which of the places connects directly to the application that you are applying, the job you are applying to, and then you put that information out there. It helps you instead of just lambing everything, just putting everything there. Okay. For instance, if let's say you want to go and do a PhD, okay, and they want your job experience. A PhD, mostly they are looking at people who can, after the program, can teach and all that. So this is where you have to disclose all the teaching experiences you have as your job, what do you call it, experiences. But then if you go and mention you worked at a bank and this and that, it doesn't have any correlation. That is the little I can say. So it's at your own discretion. The only advice is that look at the specific application that you are applying to, the job you are applying to, or the position, and then provide relevant jobs that have direct link to it. That is all that I would say for now. Yes, I think Gideon, is your hand up? Gideon and then Sarah.
Okay,
Sorry, I
madam,
think you can
thank
take.
you.
Sarah, yes, you're on the floor.
Okay. I want to ask, so when they say if you are applying for a job, you should provide the right information, don't lie. So in case maybe I'm applying for a job and then maybe I omit maybe some places I've ever worked at my past experience. Maybe I didn't add it to my CV. And then maybe as I'm working there, maybe they get to know that I've ever worked there. Will they say that maybe I'm hiding some information from them because I've ever worked here, but I didn't add it to my work experience, my places that I've ever worked at.
Okay, so please, the caveat is that what I said is that it should be relevant to the position you are applying to. Okay, if it doesn't have any bearings on the position you are applying for, I really personally, this is my personal opinion. Okay, I really don't see why they should have a problem with it when they realize that I have worked in a bank before. It has nothing to do with what I'm applying for now. Okay.
Okay, thank
All right.
you, please.
All right. Thank you. So it's my personal opinion. Please, it's my personal opinion. Let's move on. If there are no further questions.
Okay, so B,
Yes.
if the candidate is not selected, you may still wish to keep the form pending a suitable alternative vacancy in the future. There are two dangers here. The candidate was not quite good enough for this vacancy. So will he really be good enough for the next one? Someone else has now filled the job for which he applied. So will the next job that becomes available to identify to it with an identical personnel specification? You should only consider the candidate if you are convinced that his attributes are right for the new job.
All right. So please bear in mind, we are looking at the uses of completed application forms. And then the first point was talking about it becoming a permanent personal record. Now, our module is letting us know that some organizations keep the form pending suitable alternative vacancy in the future. So let's be mindful. Let's take note of that. All right, let's move on to the C.
See, regardless of whether the applicant is selected, application forms which have been completed will provide you with useful information for an analysis of the labor market. What kind of people are interested in joining you, where they live, and what their pay expectations are. This will be of assistance in assessment of the external availability of human resources. Thank you.
All right, exactly. So that's it for the uses of the application forms. All right. Okay, so let me see the self-assessments. Let's move on. We'll move on to the references and medical checks. All right, so this is all parts of the selection employee selection process. Please, let's take note of that. All right. So we've seen that they write a letter of applications. They also fill application forms. There is also, from the section 2 that we are about to read, there is references and then medical checks as well. All right. Can we continue? Can someone else take over so that Moses can rest? Yes, Sarah. Is there a question or you
Please,
want to
madam,
read?
it's a question, please.
All right.
I want to find out whether it's possible that one company can request that you fill the application form and still write the application letter.
Oh, yes, it is done. It is done. You can, the application
Okay.
letter and then the forms, it's done. The two can go at the same time. All right. Okay, peace.
Okay.
It's a question or you want to read?
I want to read.
All right, then. Take us through the references and medical checks.
Okay. Section 2, references and medical checks. Having studied the meaning of employee selection and reasons why careful selection is important, as well as the use of application letters and forms as selection devices, we can now move to another interesting aspect of the selection process. We shall specifically examine why some employers use references and medical checks as selection
All right.
devices.
Let's move to 2.1.
Okay, references as a selection device. A candidate may be requested to nominate referees who are prepared to supply information concerning the candidate's past life and character. References can come in any of the following ways. A,
Unsolicited.
Unsolicited testimonials. These may be produced by a job applicant. He will claim that a previous employer, headmaster, or associate has written this. That is usually glowing assertion that the bearer is honest, diligent, and vested with integrity. Such documents should be treated with caution. While many are not, no doubt, genuine and sincere, they can already be manufactured by one with access to his erstwhile employer's headed stationery.
All right, then. So please, let's hold on. The unsolicited testimonials, okay? We are looking at references or referees. We have had cases at UCC where, let's say, when you are going for promotion at UCC, you need to put in an updated CV, okay? And as part of the CV, you're supposed to provide 3 referees. And there has been instances where a named referee, you go into the our data and you realize that that named referee has passed away long ago. You know, it's so interesting. They just put name, people just put names there without any connection to the person. Let's be careful when we are putting referees. No, just be sure that the person is alive. Don't just put the name there because you know the person. Oh yeah, but then when was the last time you heard from the person? When was the last time you heard from the person? All right, let's be careful. Yes, Damatu, your hand is up.
Yes, please. Madam, concerning the unsolicited testimonials.
Yes, please.
Assuming I've provided a referee in my CV and I'm working, and later on the person passes on, and maybe the company wants to find out something from my referee. That one, how do I handle that? Or the person has even traveled abroad. My own like this, he's no more in Ghana. So how do I handle it? Thank you.
Yes, definitely when you are providing the referee, you're supposed to add the contact details of the person. So if the person is outside, what is the person's email? If the company wants to reach out to the person, provide the person's current email address, so that if the company wants to reach out to the person, they can easily do that. Are we okay? And if the person has passed on, if the person has passed on, you would know it's based on the date the person passed on. But I was talking about cases where it's a fresh nominee. Okay, you have nominated 3 people as your referee, but then meanwhile, the dates that you were nominating those people, you didn't go back to go and check if the person is alive. They just gave the name out. Meanwhile, the person had passed on. That's the issue I was talking about. All right.
In that
Emmanuel
case, I have to
Jan.
update my own.
Yes, please update it.
Thank you.
Update it. And one thing that UCC we do now is that your CV, okay, it is required at UCC. I don't know for other companies, so that we know that your CV is the updated one. You are supposed to, at the tail end of your CV, you're supposed to put the date for which you updated the CV, and then your signature. It is a standard at UCC now. So the date will let us know if your CV is current or not. So let's say if I'm making any application next month, okay, and I'm putting in my application documents, which requires my CV and all that, my CV is supposed to have a current date. That shows that, yes, I have updated my CV. So anybody that picks it and they check the dates on my CV, if there is any issue, they will come back to the date. You claim you updated your CV this day, but then the information you provided is wrong. You get it? So that is a standard at UCC now. I don't know elsewhere. Maybe you can also adapt it. When you update your CV, at the tail end, just put the dates that you updated the CV, you put it there, so that it will give a clue to whoever reads it that is a current CV, is an updated CV, not an old one. Okay. All right, Emmanuel Jan, please. Your hand is up.
Yes, please. So we are with my outfit company. We've seen CVs that the referee is the relative of the applicant. Does that also mean that is unsolicited testimonial, and what are the implications for that?
All right. So when we're talking about unsolicited testimonials, it doesn't have anything to do with the personality or who is the referee. They are 2 different things. Okay. The unsolicited testimonials is like you go to your what do you call it? Your former school, and then you ask one of your subject teachers to write a testimony for you. All right, and then you attach it to your documents. It's unsolicited. Per what our module says here, it says that he will claim that a previous employer, headmaster, or associate has written his assertion that the bearer is honest, diligent, and bursting with integrity. Such documents should be treated with caution. While many are no doubt genuine and sincere, they can all readily be manufactured by anyone with access to his while employers headed stationery. So unsolicited testimonials, anybody at all can write it and claim that I am the headmaster. I don't know if you get the difference. Do you understand
Yes.
what the unsolicited is? Exactly. So that is one. And then putting your relative as your referee, to me, I think is not is not right. Unless you are saying that you worked with your relative in that company. Your relative is your boss or is your manager. Unless you can prove beyond all reasonable doubts that he or she is your manager. Okay. Other than that, your relative shouldn't be your referee. Your relative shouldn't be your referee.
So, madam, I think they do that in a sense that when the employer call to ask about the applicants, they will have like favorable response from their relative so that they get the job. So I think that's the reason why they do that. But
That's the
I
reason.
understand that.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what they do. But then any sensible employer can read in between the lines. Okay. How can I go to someone who is my relative, and you go to my relative and say, how is this your niece or your daughter? Or you go to my father, and my father knows that I am applying for a position in that particular company. Definitely he will put his best foot forward. He will say all the nice things about me. But if I should sit back as an employer, I'm not going to base my judgments on what your father said. Because definitely, why not? At the pub, if you better say, Enko. No. So let's be careful, let's be mindful. All right. Okay. Are we okay to move on? The letters, please. Let's move on. Sarah.
Okay, B, letters. The response to a specific request for a reference may be obtained from the candidate's nominee. There have been cases of candidates providing names and addresses for reference purpose which belong to their friends and accomplices. But by and large, the method is less prone to abuse than unsolicited testimonials. Names and candidates of companies can in any case be checked, perhaps by just using the telephone directory to make sure that they do exist.
All right,
C.
please pause for me. Kindly pause for us. So this all goes back to buttress the issues we are all bringing up. Okay. One key thing is that some people think that the referees, some employers don't contact them. So they will just put anything there. If an employer who is serious about his selection process decides to go and do the background checks, at least now we are in this class, reading this course. So we understand what it means to put a referee there. So we can go out there and then educate our colleagues, our friends. Okay. If you are putting any referee there, please be mind. Don't just put it there because you just want to put it there, or because the person is my relative or something. But be mindful, any serious-minded employer would definitely do a background check. And the background check here means that they would contact your referees to find out a little bit about you. And that is not the only tool that they are going to use to do their background checks. We read earlier that sometimes your application letters speaks volumes about you. And then your application form, the information you provide, they speak a lot about you. All right, can we move on?
C. Structured reference forms. These can be designed to ensure that you obtain information in a standard framework, which will enable you to identify evasions and omissions. If you are employing a number of staff at different levels, you may ask with the application form, find it appropriate to draw up more than one standard reference form, making each appropriate to a particular level of job.
All right. All right, let's move on to the D.
Okay, the telephone reference. These may circumvent some of the difficulties for, or in addition to other methods. Although some organizations are reluctant to provide such information over the telephone, others are willing to say things which they would hesitate to put down on paper. The best way of obtaining references over the telephone is to call the referee and ask him if he would like to bring you back. That way, he has a chance to check that they are genuine. A checklist of some kind will help you to ensure that you cover the key areas.
All right, let's move on to E.
E. Written reasons for dismissal. If an employee is dismissed by his employer, he is entitled under the law to be given a written statement of the reasons. While this is clearly not a substitute for the more detailed reference information that you may want, where an applicant claims that his last employer dismissed him, per usual of his written statement should throw light on the reasons for this. References are useful source of additional information about candidates for selection, but only if the major problems we have mentioned can be resolved. However, well the referee knows the candidate, and however honestly he tries to answer your questions, in the last analysis, a decision about the applicant's suitability for this particular job in your particular organization will be yours as the employer.
All right. Okay, I think we've had enough about the referees. Because of time, can we just move on? If there are no questions, I would give room for one or two questions. If there are no, we can quickly go through the medical checks. Is there any? Okay. All right, Sarah, let's continue.
Peace is actually peace.
Peace, you are the one reading. Hey, sorry, forgive me. All right, peace, let's go.
2.2 Medical checks. The real value or purpose of the medical check comes where a qualified medical practitioner with a thorough knowledge of the physical and mental requirements of the job assesses the physical and mental state of the applicant. In larger organizations, a company doctor is sometimes retained for this purpose and to treat existing employees at the workplace. He can provide valuable advice concerning the applicant's suitability for a particular job, and if the applicant is unsuitable, can suggest alternative types of work for which he might be considered. In detail, the following reasons can be advanced for a medical examination of prospective employees before they are appointed or they even assume duty. A.
All right, pause for me. Kindly pause for me. All right, so as part of UCC's selection process, okay, be it staff or students, I guess it's not in the case of distance students, but then regular. Before you go through everything, you are required to see the UCC, visit the UCC hospital for a medical check. Okay, so in the same vein, with being as part of the selection process, okay, you are required to have your medical checks at the university hospital, meaning there is a designated, some organizations have specific places where you should go and have your medical checks. All right, let's move on.
Okay, A. To safeguard the health of those engaged in hazardous work. Examples include the need to avoid employment of lung patients in adverse atmospheric conditions or sufferers from stress diseases, whether physical or mental, on jobs with high stress content. B. To safeguard the health and safety of vulnerable groups. An epileptic, for instance, should not be employed where seizure could place him in danger, for example, near moving machinery. C. To safeguard the health and safety of others. Employing individuals suffering from infectious diseases or violent mental disorders could directly jeopardize the safety of other employees. Employing someone with poor eyesight as a driver could create unnecessary danger for him and others. B. To ensure that some specific job requirements can be met. This can range from simple tests for color blindness administered by designers or electricians to comprehensive physical examination for security personnel where peak physical condition is vital. E. To meet requirements of occupational pension schemes whose rules require that employees are examined medically in order to qualify
for pension.
All right. Thank you very much, Peace,
You're
for taking
welcome.
us through referees and medical checks. All right. If
Welcome.
there are no questions, thank you. If there are no questions, can we have someone else take us through the session 3, that's selection tests. This is another form of selection process. All right. Who is taking us through? All right. Caroline, is there a question or you want to read?
No, I want to read, please.
Okay, hold on. Perpetua, do you have a question or you also wanted to read?
Yeah, I wanted to read.
All right, so you just hold on. There will be an opportunity for you, okay? All right, so
Okay.
Caroline, take us through.
Section 3. Selection test. Having studied the meaning of employee selection and reasons why careful selection is important, as well as the use of references and medical checks as selection devices, we can now move to another interesting aspect of the selection process. We shall examine specifically selection tests as a selection device.
All right, let's jump to 3.1.
Meaning of selection test. Testing candidates is another selection device which can be used to gather information about candidates. Tests help us to assess what a candidate can do. If, for example, we want to know whether a candidate can help type at a certain speed or calculate percentages, testing the candidate will provide us with the opportunity to assess his abilities and measure them against the standard which we know from our job specification and are looking for. 3.2. Test of test. Generally, selection tests are classified according to what job specification they have been designed to measure, such as cognitive, that is mental abilities, motor and physical abilities, personalities and interests, or achievements. Then we come to cognitive tests. Cognitive tests include tests of general reasoning ability, that is intelligence, and tests of specific mental abilities like deductive and inductive reasoning, that is aptitude.
Yeah.
Now we move to the intelligence, that is IQ test. These are tests of general intelligence abilities. They measure not a single intelligence trait, but rather a range of abilities including memory, vocabulary, verbal fluency, and numerical ability. Originally, IQ, that is intelligence quotient, was literally a quotient. Hey, am I right? Quotient. The procedure was to divide a child's mental age, that is, as measured by the intelligence test, by his or her chronological age and multiply the result by 100. That's if an 8-year-old child answered question as a 10-year-old might, his or her IQ will be 10 divided by 8 multiplied by 100. The child's IQ is thus 125. For adults, of course, the notion of mental age divided by chronological age will normally not make sense. For example, we will not necessarily expect a 30-year-old individual to be more intelligent than a 25-year-old one. Therefore, an adult IQ score is actually a derived score. It reflects the extent to which the person is above or below the average adult intelligence score. Now we come to aptitude tests. Aptitude tests are designed to assess whether a candidate have the basic ability to develop particular skill or knowledge for a specific job. These tests assess deductive and inductive reasoning of job candidates. Deductive reasoning assesses a candidate's ability to make general inferences or to reason from a general to a particular. It involves reasoning from one or more principles or premises to a conclusion, which necessarily or logically follows. For example, every student of the College of Distance Education, University of Cape Coast, has potential to succeed. You are a student of College of Distance Education, University of Cape Coast, therefore you have high potential to succeed. Inductive reasoning is a method of supporting or arriving at a general or universal statement by observing a limited number of cases, as in research. For example, every student of College of Distance Education, University of Cape Coast, who has ever been observed has high potential to succeed. Therefore, every College of Distance Education, University of Cape Coast students have high potential to succeed. There is a range of aptitudes which some of us possesses in a high degree than others. Hand-eye coordination, manipulative dexterity, dexterity, mechanical reasoning, spatial ability, numeracy, word fluency, visual perception, and critical thinking are some example of aptitude tests.
All right, thank you very much. So at least this is all about some of the aptitude tests that I'm sure most of you, some of you may have taken such a test. I have. I don't know about you, but then this is telling us, making us know the various aptitude tests that is out there. Okay, can we move to the motor and physical abilities?
Okay, motor and physical abilities. Motor abilities of candidates that employers may want to test include finger dexterity, manual
Dexterity.
finger
Dexterity.
dexterity, manual dexterity, speed of an arm movement, and reaction test. Tests of physical ability include static strength, such as lifting weight, dynamic strength, like pulling ups, body coordination, as in jumping rope, and stamina.
I guess this particular, you can see it in the military. Yes, the motor and physical ability. I guess that's where you can find that test. All right, let's move on. Personality and interest test.
Okay, personality and interest test. A person's cognitive and personal ability alone seldom explain his or her job performance. Other factors like the person's motivation and interpersonal skills are important too. Personality and interest tests are sometimes used to predict a candidate's suitability. Personality is a complex web of factors which reflect the whole or part of a person's character. It includes the extent to which one is introvert or extrovert, happy-go-lucky, proud, expedient, and practical. These are the attributes personality tests are designed to assess. Personality tests are mostly projective. Today, most industrial psychologists emphasize the big five personality dimensions as they apply to personal testing: extroversion, emotional stability, agreeableness, conscious, hey,
Conscientiousness.
conscious,
Conscientious. It is well. It is well. Break it down.
conscientiousness, hey,
Conscientiousness.
conscientiousness, and
Yes,
Colin,
let's
openness,
eat
move on.
banana, eat banana, eat banana.
and openness to experiment. Sorry, openness to
Experience.
experience. Interest tests compare one's interest with those of people in various occupations. That's a person who takes the strong compel inventory interest test. For instance, would receive a report comparing his or her interests to those of people already in occupations such as accounting, engineering, management, or medical technology. The main benefit of interest tests is career planning. Since a person would will likely to do better on job than involve activities in which he or she is interested.
All right, let's move on.
Achievement test. An achievement test is basically a measure of what a person has learned. Achievement tests measure your job knowledge in areas like economics, marketing, human resource, or what an applicant knows about a subject relevant to a job. Now we come to performance or proficiency tests. These are tests to measure specific skills required on a job. A word processing test, for instance, can indicate both the speed and accuracy of candidates for secretarial or typing position. Similarly, a driving test can indicate the proficiency of, say, a heavy goods vehicle driver.
All right, take us through the limitations of selection tests.
Okay. Limitation of selection tests. In spite of the importance of tests as a selection device, there are a number of specific limitations which should be borne in mind. A. Test scores. At best, simply tell you that a greater proportion of people who achieve a certain score will be successful in the performance of the task than those who do not achieve this score. They cannot predict whether one specific individual will succeed or fail. B. Tests do not tell you why someone has performed well or badly. C. Test validity and reliability may be reduced by the existence of stress, faking, or familiarity, each of which will tend to distort the results. If candidates are particularly nervous, they may well underperform on the test. If they have seen the test before, they may have an unfair advantage.
Yes. D, yes, let's go on.
Knowledge of results may have an adverse effect. If the applicant learns of his results on a particular test, this may either undermine his confidence or give him an inflated sense of his own ability. E. Tests may be discriminatory. It is important that every aspect of your selection procedure should be examined to make sure that it does not unjustifiably include methods or criteria with which one group may find particularly hard. Even a language test can be regarded as discriminatory, as the British Steel Corporation found to its cause as Scunthorpe in January 1979. The corporation has refused to rehire 7 Bangladesh ex-employees who failed a newly introduced English language test. The workers brought the case before the Industrial Tribunal, but an agreed settlement was eventually reached between the corporation and the Commission for Racial Equality, involving payment totaling $10,000 to be made to the corporation for its ex-employees. The men concerned were also offered laboring jobs with the corporation until such time as their attendance at English language classes, that is during working hours, should render them sufficiently proficient in the language to pass a properly supervised test and enable them to gain promotion into production area jobs.
Yeah. All right. So thank you very much, Caroline, for taking us through the tests as a selection process. And I'm happy that the last we have looked at the limitations of selection tests. So if you are an employer and you want to use some procedures in your selection process, our module has made us aware of the limitations if you want to use tests. Okay, if you want to test your candidates before you make a decision, we have now seen that there are some limitations to it. I'm happy the module has mentioned that for us. Okay. Can we quickly go through the selection interviews? I guess most of you have gone through that. That is selection interview process. I have one, a pending one. Yes, I've applied to further my studies and I am preparing for my interview. Yes, so this is also another form of selection. Okay, all right. So can we have someone read for us? Yes, Gideon. Is it a question or you want to read?
I want to read, madam.
All right, then take us through it.
Okay, so please, I'll jump straight to 4.1. That is the selection interview.
Yes, please. All right.
Okay. All right. Good evening, colleagues. Meaning of selection interview. The selection interview remains the most commonly used selection tool for job applicants, though experience indicates that few interviewers are able to measure the success of interviews in a way which inspires such confidence in the method. A selection interview is a technique designed to predict future job performance on the basis of an applicant's responses to oral injuries. Estimates of Enquiries. Estimates of organization using interviews for selection range from 70% for some types of interviews to one study of 852 employers that found that 99% of them used interviews for employee selection. Interviews have become important for the following reasons. A. Interviews help employers to assess the candidate's capacity and motivation to perform a particular job. They are especially useful when employers are trying to assess a person's disposition or impact on others. B. Interviews also help candidates to formulate their own assessment of the interviewer and the organization. This is particularly important if we accept that the outcome of the selection process will only really be satisfactory in both parties, the interviewer and the interviewee fail to be right and fair. 4.2. Types of selection interview. There are several types of selection interview. They include structured, unstructured, stress, and situational interview. Let's consider them in terms. A. Structured versus unstructured interview. In the structured type of interview, questions and acceptable responses are determined in advance and the responses are rated for appropriateness of content. Here, the interviewer follows a predetermined series of questions. In an unstructured interview, the interviewer asks questions as they come to mind. There is generally no set format to follow. So the interview can take various directions. While questions can be specified in advance, they usually are not. And there is a formalized guide for scoring the quality of each answer. Thus, interviewees for the same job may not be asked the same or the similar questions. Furthermore, the lack of structure allows the interviewer to ask follow-up questions based on the candidate's last statements and to pursue points of interest as they develop. Structured and unstructured interviews have their respective merits and demerits. In structured interviews, all applicants are generally asked the same questions by all interviewers. Structured interviews are therefore generally more reliable and valid. Structured interviews can also help interviewers who may be less comfortable in interviewing to ask questions and conduct more useful interviews. Standardizing the administration of the interview also increases consistency across candidates, enhances job relatedness, reduces overall subjectivity, and thus the potential for bias and enhanced ability to withstand legal challenge. On the other hand, structured interviews do not always leave the flexibility to pursue points of interest as they developed. Their validity, their validity is also affected negatively if a candidate passes the questions to a friend yet to be interviewed. B.
Mhm.
B. Stress interview. This is a special type of interview. This is a special type of selection interview in which the applicant is made uncomfortable by a series of sometimes rude questions. The aim of the stress interview is purposely to help identify sensitive applicants and those with low or high stress tolerance. In the typical stress interview, the applicant is made uncomfortable by a series of frank and often discourteous questions from the interviewer. Thus, a candidate for a customer relation manager who obligingly mentioned having had 4 jobs in the past 2 years might be told that frequent job changes reflect irresponsible and immature behavior. If the applicant reacts explosively with anger and disbelief, this might be taken as a symptom of low tolerance for stress. The stress approach can be a good way to identify hypertensive, hypertensive,
Hyper,
sorry,
hypersensitive.
hyper, hypersensitive applicants, who might be expected to overreact to mild criticism, criticism with anger and abuse.
Yeah. Pause there for
See,
me, please. All right.
okay, ma'am.
So we're looking at interviews, yes, in general, and we have um, been made aware of the merits and demerits of the structured and unstructured interviews. I guess when you take your time and you go back and you read it again, you will be able to make the distinction, yes, between the structured and then the unstructured, and their merits and demerits as well. The stress interview, if you have ever experienced it, at an interview, you realize that they will ask you a question that when you are done with the interview and you step out, you'll be wondering why they asked you that question. It is just to see how you are triggered. Sometimes everything that happens at during interviews is purposeful. They know what they are looking for. So you should also go in there well composed to face them. Whatever they do in there, the panel, don't think that they are just doing it for doing sake. I remember one last interview I attended for my promotion. I entered the room, I greeted, they gave me a seat, and all of a sudden, they were busy. They asked me a question, they all decided to be busy at the same time. So if you are not well composed, you'll be confused. You wouldn't know whether you should continue or you should stop. So it took my confidence, the confidence in my voice, for them to all stop and turn and look at me. So whatever happens in an interview is purposeful. They know what they are looking for. So please, when you are going into any interview, just go with confidence. Go in there and don't be alarmed when they throw you questions that it looks like this one is off board. It's not off board. They know what they are looking for. So please conscientize yourself anytime you are going for an interview. Anything can happen, and be prepared for the anything. All right, let's move on.
All right, thank you, madam. So the P, situational interview. In this type of interview, the question focus on the individual's ability to project what his or her behavior would be in a given situation. For example, a candidate for a supervisor's position may be asked how he or she would respond to a subordinate coming to work late 3 days in a row. In this case, the candidate could be evaluated on his or her choice of action to handle the situation. This approach may elicit deeper and more meaningful response than are normally produced by a series of one-on-one interviews. D, group or mass interview. An even more stressful type is the group or mass interview. In this interview, a panel interviews several candidates simultaneously. Here, the panel poses a problem to be solved by the interviewees and then sits back to assess the candidates on the basis of their respective contribution to solving the problem.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Thank you. Is it, I saw a hand up. Was it Dama something something?
Yes, madam.
Yes, yes. Is there a question you want to ask?
Yes, please. Concerning the
Please go
interview,
on.
madam, please.
Mhm.
Sometimes when you go for a promotional interview, after they are done with all the questioning, they can ask you, do you have any question for us, or is there any comments? Please, at that particular point, what is the meaning of that session, or what do they need from us? Thank you.
Dama too. This one there. I don't know. Sometimes they want to see how bold you are, how confident you are. Okay. So when they give you that platform, you should, if you want to ask a question, it should be an intelligent question. It's like a last chance for you to leave an impression on them. So don't just ask any question because they've given you the platform, but it should be a question or something that you want to put across that will leave a lasting like impression on them when you leave the room. Okay. In case you want to say anything, you want to use that opportunity, leave a lasting impression on them. Other than that, I would just advise you to say no and then thank you. You step out.
Madam, I think the no and thank you is the best.
But sometimes, yes, Rebecca, do you have a contribution? Rebecca, your hand is up. Please come again. Your line is not clear.
Mine just your question.
You have a question. All right, please put it forth.
Okay, madam, I want to know, is it appropriate when you enter into an interview room and you are offered a seat, you should sit down?
It is best for them to ask you to sit before you sit. But don't just enter the interview room and just go and take a seat without them offering you a seat. That one is bad.
Okay, madam.
All right, thank you.
Okay, madam, but
all
some
right,
people always say when you have been offered the seat, you shouldn't sit down at all. I don't know whether it's for some particular interview or all interviews.
That's one day I don't know, but for the experience I have, the appropriate thing is that when you go and they offer you a seat, you have to sit. You can't say if they are going to spend about 30 minutes with you, you can't be standing throughout the 30 minutes. But always remember, it is not good when you greet, stand there. Let them say, please, you may have a seat before you can sit. Don't just greet and go straight and sit down. Let them offer you a particular seat to sit. Okay. All right, Enoch, your hand is up.
Thank you, madam.
You're welcome. Enoch. Enokama. Okay. All right. Can we have
Hello.
someone? Yes, Enoch.
Hello.
Your hand was up.
Uh-huh.
Yes, we can
Yes,
hear
please.
you.
Thank you, madam. Please, sometimes you go to an interview and during or after the interview, you are normally given some snacks or something to eat. Is it a good? Is it good to reject it, or you have to take it in a polite and in a nice way that they wouldn't say anything? Because those kind of things attract some marks or something. How do you
Please,
handle
where
this?
exactly? Where is the snack placed? Is it before you enter the interview room, or it is right in the interview room?
Right in the interview room, sometimes as we are talking, you may be offered a bottle of water or a drink or something. So as the interview is going on, then you begin to take some tea or some coffee or something.
All right. I
Enoch,
have
my
not,
brother, are you
Enoch,
sure?
I'm
Are
not,
you sure?
I'm not, I've not
Oh,
experienced
oh,
that one, but for the bottle of water, yes, I have. I've
that's
experienced
what
that.
I'm saying.
Okay.
Maybe you might be
Oh,
giving
for
something.
bottle of water, for a bottle of water is life. That one, when they give it to you, you shouldn't reject it. You can take it, but that doesn't mean you should be drinking it there. I know of an instance where a friend of mine went for an interview and they offered him a bottle of water. So when the tension was piling, he just made fun. Okay, he just made a funny comment, and everybody started laughing. When the tension was mounting, he was like, "Please, can I sip on this water small to regain my composure?" And everybody started laughing. It depends on how you go about it. Yes, but when they give
Okay.
it, take it and thank them and put it down. But if you don't feel like taking the water, as in drinking it there, that's okay. But when they offer
Okay.
you something, just take it and put it down.
Okay.
Mhm. For bottle of
Okay. Well,
water,
I think
yes, I have experienced it, but for coffee or tea and those things, no, I haven't. That was what I was asking you. Where is it placed? Is it before you enter the room or right in the room? If it is before the room, that one is just to let you relax. Okay.
okay.
But
Yes,
then if it
please.
is within the room,
Madam,
that is,
if it is
I've not
coffee there, I'll
experienced
take
that.
coffee. I'll take it.
Bro, take up. It's for you. Oh. That's your last chance.
Exactly, that's your last chance. All right, then.
Okay.
Can we have
Well, thank you
someone
very
take
much.
us through the interview?
Enoch, come and answer question. You want to go and drink tea?
Oh, no. Madam, no,
Okay.
sometimes it do happen like that. And if you find yourself in that situation now, you have to be guided in how to do all these things so
To
that
go about
it
it.
will not look as if you become like an
Yeah,
old man at sea who doesn't know anything.
yeah.
Then you go
You
and disgrace yourself
Sometimes
and
they do all these things just sometimes when they realize that you are tensed up, they find a way to just calm your nerves down. These are all some of the things. I know of an interview that someone went and out of passion, the person was speaking and you can see tears was flowing. It was out of passion of that particular topic or the question they asked. And then one of the panel members got up and picked a tissue and brought it to the person. In this case, will you tell the person not to receive it? You get
oh,
it?
the person will receive it.
Exactly. It's a way to just calm you down. Some of these things.
Okay.
Yeah. The
Okay.
panel members, they are human. They see when they see that the pressure is so great on you, they see it. So some people go the extra mile, they go out of their way to just make you comfortable. Okay,
Okay. Yes,
exactly.
please, madam. Madam,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
You're most welcome. Can I have someone take us through the administering selection interviews? Administering selection interviews. Yes, Francis. Is it a question or you want to read?
Madam, I want to read.
Please do us the honors. Go straight to point 5.1. Go to 5.1.
5.1.
Yes, please.
Okay, madam. So forms of interview administration. Interviews can be administered on one-on-one basis by a panel of interviewers sequentially, as already discussed, or by computer. In a one-on-one interview, as the name implies, two people meet and one, normally the employer, interviews the other, normally the job seeker, by seeking oral responses to oral inquiries. Most selection interviews are also by a panel and are done sequentially. In a panel or sequential interview, several persons interview the applicants in sequence before a selection decision is made. Increasing interviews are not administered by people at all, but are computerized. A computerized selection interview is one in which a job candidate's oral and or computerized responses are obtained in response to computerized oral, visual, or written questions and or situations. The basic idea is generally to present the applicant with a series of questions regarding his or her background, experience, education, skills, knowledge, work attitudes, and specific questions that relate to the job for which the person has applied. In a typical computerized interview, the questions are presented in a multiple choice format, one at a time, and the applicant is expected to respond to the questions on the computer screen by pressing a key corresponding to his or a desired response. For example, a sample interview question for a person applying for a job as a retail store clerk might be: how would your supervisor rate your customer service skills? So you have your options: A, outstanding; B, above average; C, average; D, below average; E, poor. Questions on a computerized interview like this come in rapid sequence and require concentration on the applicant's part. A typical computerized interviewer then measures the response time to each question. A delay in answering certain questions, such as "can you be trusted," can raise a potential problem. Administrative arrangement for interviews. Before you start inviting candidates for interview, you must sort out where, when, how, and by whom the interview is to be conducted. The following checklist is helpful. 1. Decide time and venue of the interview. 2. Decide who will be involved in conducting the interview, that is, the panelists. 3. Notify other panelists of the time and venue and arrange a meeting to plan the interview. 4. Notify candidates in good time of the time and venue. Tell them how to get there, who to ask for, and roughly how long and what form the proceedings will take. 5. Notify the receptionist or gatekeeper or other relevant person or persons whom to expect and where to direct them to. 6. If candidates' expectations and the timing of the interview warrant it, arrange to have some beverage served. If you are interviewing a candidate for a senior position appointment, it may be appropriate to provide lunch for both panelists and candidates who are interviewed late.
This is where Enoch's question comes in.
So, common problems with interviews. The opposite of carefully weighing up and evaluating responses during interviews is the unconscious habit of jumping to conclusions and allowing our prejudices to determine the outcome. Jumping to conclusion can take several forms, as discussed below. The halo effect. This occurs when one feature of the interviewee Interviewee becomes an overriding factor which governs our perception of the person. A common pitfall is to assume that someone who appears attractive and articulate is also intelligent. Prejudice or bias. We tend to prejudge people either favorably because they belong to a particular group or remind us of a particular person. Common prejudices include the assumption that members of one race are more hardworking than those of another, or that women, for example, are less reliable than men. These preconceptions can color our interpretation of any comments such applicants may make. So we have stereotypes. These take two forms. We have the good worker stereotypes, and we take a look at them. We may build up a picture in our minds of what a good worker is like, and then use the interview as a means of finding someone who matches that rather than the personnel specification. We will be favorably disposed to those who appear to match, and will be more critical of those who do not match. The most common stereotypes of the good worker are the Boy Scout stereotype, who is normally a good doer and pillar of the community, and the human relations stereotype, who is a jolly good person whom everyone likes. Neither may be right for the job. Physical traits stereotypes. We may identify one physical characteristic and assume that people who possess that trait will be alike in character. Examples are the assumption that people who are short are quick tempered and tall people are soft spoken. These unfounded assumptions could again color our judgments and make it more difficult for us to evaluate information in a well balanced way.
Let's move on.
Unfavorable information, the horn effect. Most of us are more heavily influenced by people's bad points than by their good ones. Once we have formulated an adverse impression, we are slow to change our minds. These two can be a barrier to effective evaluation of all the information that has emerged during the interview.
This is straightforward, unless someone has a question, but this is self-explanatory. Can we quickly look at the last session, that session 6, completing the selection process? If you can quickly take us through it. Yes.
Okay, madam. So 6.1, making the selection decision. Deciding on the outcome of the selection procedure is seldom an easy task. You are dealing with people, all of whom are likely to find failure or rejection unpalatable. You are also trying to determine on the basis of a few pieces of paper plus an interview or two, something which has an important bearing on the future success of the organization. If the selection decision is based on, say, the interview alone, candidates are ranked from highest marks to the lowest, and the required number of candidates are selected. If the decision is also based on a multiple of selection decisions, as already discussed, an aggregate performance broadsheet is prepared for all candidates based on which successful candidates are informed. In all of these, the employer should make sure that his decision to hire particular applicants is the right one. Communicating with successful candidates. The person selected should be notified speedily by means of an offer letter. If he has applied for similar jobs, there's a chance that he will be offered one of the others first and you will lose him. He may, of course, change his mind even after he has accepted your offer. So you can feel inclined to leave open some channel of communication to one of the other applicants, just in case. This will only be feasible if he too matches your requirements and came close in the decision-making process. The offer letter tells the applicant that you are offering him the job. The letter may suggest an effective date, but this is normally open and takes effect from the day the candidate assumes duty. The letter should also include details of the salary and major terms and conditions of employment. Handling unsuccessful applicants. You should adopt a policy of informing unsuccessful candidates at the earliest opportunity. If the decision is formulated during the interview, the applicant should be brought to the realization of his unsuitability during the interview. But if the decision is delayed, you should write him. You should write to him. Remember, remember to make your letter as polite as possible because you may never know when the need to rely on such a candidate will arise.
Thank you very much. I guess we can call it a day if there are no questions. Is there any question or any contribution? Yes,
please, madam.
Don't bring the
Madam,
tea
please.
and the coffee issue again.
Oh, no. It has been solved.
Thank you.
Madam, please, why is that sometimes, or in most cases, interviewers sometimes do intimidate the interviewees?
Yes. I think that is a stress test. They sometimes want to see your tolerance level. Okay. It's not that they are intimidating you. They want to see what you are made of. Okay. So you need to, as I said earlier, go in there well composed. Are we okay?
Yes, please.
All right. Any more
you.
questions or contributions before we draw the curtain to a close? Okay, since there are no more questions, I would, yes, Sarah.
Yeah, please, madam, I want to ask like, you know, we were talking about the interview, you made mention of your personal experience about you going in and they asked you a question and they decided to be busy. So I don't know whether it would be appropriate if you, the job seeker, also maybe keep quiet and wait for them to finish before you continue, or you should just ignore them and continue.
Yeah, so at that particular moment, it depends. I started talking and they looked busy. Okay, so it depends on how you handle it, how you go about it. Some people would just wait for them to just tell you, oh, please go on before you continue. But then I don't know what they were looking for. But all that I realized was that they all stopped whatever they were doing and they all turned. I caught their attention. Okay, based on how I presented my issue and the level of my voice. I wasn't shouting or I wasn't screaming, but I was able to command the room. Yes, so it all depends on you. Yes, David.
I wanted to ask a question. Can your IQ, your intelligence quotient, if it is higher than your social quotient, can that one grant you a job?
Well, maybe out there in other countries, but Ghana, hardly do people use that, the tests
Hello, madam.
selection process. Yes.
Hello.
Yes, David. Hello, David, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes, I was
Hello.
saying that I said that here in Ghana, they don't, employers hardly use that form of selection. Okay. Employers here in Ghana hardly use that form of selection, but then out there, I guess it's something common out there. So I can't say much about it.
Thank you, madam.
Yes, you're most welcome. Gideon.
All right, madam.
Gideon,
my question has got nothing to do with what we are doing, but so I want us to finish with everything before I bring it out.
Please, I think we are done. We are done for today. We've completed the unit 3. Yes.
Okay.
So please, you can bring it on board.
Okay. So please, it was concerning UCC being the best in Ghana. I was discussing with a colleague at the office on Jindi.
Okay. And why? Why is that?
She attends Legon, and she
Okay.
says it's not true. She says it's not
Well,
true.
It's
but
normal. Normal testing.
exactly. But then we have data backing it. It is not that we got up to just say that we are the number one in Ghana. It was by the Times New Roman. Is it Times New something? So I'll check it for you.
Madam, I
Okay.
even thought that it's West Africa.
West Africa, yes, yes. We are number one in Ghana, one in, is it West Africa, and then something, some 11 something.
11th in the whole of Africa.
Yeah, 11 in the whole of Africa.
Yes. So they can say whatever they want to say. So I've got it here. We are number one in Ghana, number one in West Africa, and then 11th in Africa, according to the, is it Times something? I can't see it clearly. So it's data backing. There's data backing. All right. Okay. So please, on that note, please, the online course rep, Majid, I would kindly ask that you contact the 5, what do you call it, study centers reps, and then put together, what do you call it, the list of our online students. Okay. So I'm expecting Fafraha. I need a list composed of the students from Fafraha, Zenith, Keta, Yellow Crobble, and then WA Center. These centers, they are 5. Fafraha, Zenith, Keta, Yellow Crobble, and then WA. Please, the online course rep, try and get in touch with the 5 study center reps, and then give me a composite of the list so that I can start doing the groupings for the group presentations. All right. So on that note, I would say thank you very much for your patience, agreeing to change the time from yesterday to today. And it's always an awesome time anytime we meet. And I would kindly ask that your revision week, please, next weekend, read, I beg you. You know, UCC, the quiz 1 is mostly objes. So when you don't read, you don't know what the answers are. So please, I would kindly ask you to read so that you'll be able to score the highest mark. All right. On that note, enjoy the rest of your
Madam,
evening. Yes, Majid.
Please, I'm dropping my number in the comment section so that the various course reps can send me their list so that I can do the compilation.
Composite. Yes, please. Please make sure it's in Excel. Okay.
Okay, madam.
All right. Thank you very much. So please, over to you. For me, dear, I'm editing. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam.
I wish you all the
Good
best.
night.
Good night.
Madam.
Madam Cole.
Latif, you can ask your question.
Go and sleep.
Latif, you can ask your question. You can ask your question.
I mean, can be answer or miss a question or even corner.
Charlie, guys, good night. Good night.
Francis.
But I wanted to ask you whether we should just send the list or we should form the group for it.
You send a list.
You are forming groups.
I'll say list, you want to form a group.
You can't hear. I didn't say I want to form. It's a question I want to ask. If you know the answer, say you said that we should send the list.
Please, so you can send the list to me directly.
Latif, this one is not fight. It's not fight. It's not fight.
Yeah, you can send it to me directly. My number is in the comments.
He knows what he's doing.
I had a good bed. Bye bye.
Go bed. Don't sleep.
I'm a bro.
What were you doing?
Your enemies must not only fail, but harassed. Say, hold on.